श्री सच्चिदानंद सद्गुरु साईनाथ महाराज की जय। सद्गुरु श्री साईनाथ निशरत बाबू जी की जय। Rose Petals, Volume 3, Chapter 4, Journey to the Source. Context: a group of devotees were on a trip in the Himalayas with Guruji and his family. Devotee: why have we come here, Guruji? Guruji: yes, why have you come? You don't have a clear answer to that question. When you're asked in the moment, you can't answer. We love Guruji and we want to be with him. I know that is the answer. But besides that, are you asking yourself, why do we love Guruji? Why do we want to be with him? If we really love him, what does Guruji want us to do here? You should have that curiosity. Of course, there is information in the tourist guides where this or that ghat is, where to take chai, where the best place to shop is. We can find information for all these things, but actually one page is missing. Information about what the guide wants you to do. Because no book will tell you this. You should develop your own guidebook, one with the guidance from a guide who knows your needs personally, because the real tour is a guided tour. Then your whole trip enters another dimension. It's no longer simply a tour or an excursion. Everything transforms into something else. Otherwise, it remains just that, an excursion, a pleasure trip, just a sightseeing tour. But it is not a sightseeing tour. It should be an insight-seeing tour. Devotee: Guruji, how can we use our time on tour constructively? Guruji: we are all here happily. Whenever we can, we'll do Baba's Nama and think of him. If possible, we'll go river rafting and enjoy the beautiful scenery. There is nothing wrong in enjoying these things. The main thing is to be harmonious and experience joy. Whatever kills that spirit is wrong. Usually, in ordinary life, you do whatever you like and decide everything yourself. Making individual choices and decisions actually strengthens individuality and builds up preferences. If you want to utilize a tour like this to lose your strong personality, that sense of separation and individuality, the ego or whatever you want to call it, then this is the best way. Here, you don't have to think about where you're going since you don't have a choice. You simply go along with the group happily. It's like participating in a group dance. Rather than giving an individual performance like in shake, break, or go-go dancing, it is like a tribal dance. There is a natural beauty in it. Even while looking at it, we lose ourselves. There is no sense of separation in it. The individuals are not important. All start moving like one, whole. That is why these dances were invented in the primitive tribes, in order to lose their separateness and become one with nature, with their environment, and with their group. You don't get many opportunities in life for this kind of experience. So, whenever you get the chance, you should try to use it. And utilize properly, it will help you to lose your individuality and increase your love and capacity to merge and to lose yourself. A journey like this can be the fire which melts the iceberg, the ice of the I-berg, the ego. Try to protect yourself from ego terrorism and its disharmony and anger among you. It's natural that some things may not work out as you like. Sometimes the food may not be properly organized, or you may become uncomfortable or inconvenienced. But we should be prepared for that. That is the group spirit. That is the team. Somebody steps on your foot and you give him an unforgiving look. These things happen when you're in a group. It happens, it's a mistake, it's not intentional. Like that, many things happen in life. Then you learn the quality of forgiving. And by learning how to forgive, what you are doing is giving up your individuality and your separateness. So that is what I was talking about, the team spirit. At least during this short 2 weeks journey, let us give up our individual choices and decisions, our likes and dislikes, our sense of comfort. Of course, Baba will take care of our comfort. Usually, we'll be more comfortable than when we travel individually, but that is a different matter. Recognizing this opportunity, being thankful for it, and reacting with affection. That is the way. Caring for others and trying. In your words, to love your neighbor as yourself. You can practice all these things. It is such an ideal situation I have provided. But as I said, don't call it a spiritual tour or a pilgrimage or a practice or any of these things. It is for you to make it spiritual or not. If you ask me in what way it is spiritual or how rafting and going up a mountain or looking at all these things will help you spiritually, that is your headache. It is not a pilgrimage or anything. It is for you to make it a pilgrimage. So, this is the main spirit behind the whole thing. Try to utilize it if you want. I am not asking you to utilize it. If you want, you can do it. Otherwise, no problem. At least when you are here, forgetting all your worries and concerns, happily enjoying, being one with the flow. How beautiful it is. No planning, not knowing what we are going to do or where we will go tomorrow. You don't often have this opportunity in life because you always plan so meticulously. But once the opportunity comes, let's utilize it. Let's be free from our strong patterns. Everything around us should teach us something. Whether you are rafting or traveling on the bus or sitting in a tea stall, everything should teach you something. Everything should go on teaching and teaching and teaching. It's not that you can learn only in satsang. Every moment you should learn. You should be a perpetual student. What you learn in satsang is only a small thing. What you learn outside satsang is more important. The only thing is, you should connect them together yourself. In Sankhya and certain schools of Vedanta, they say the universe is made up of 24 elements or categories. That is why sage Dattatreya said, I have 24 gurus. For him, the whole universe was the guru, everything, every moment. Even if somebody was making flour, it taught him something. Everything taught him. He gave some examples, but it doesn't mean only these. Every action, every movement of a leaf even, should be a message from the Satguru. That is what Bhagavan meant about Dattatreya when he said Dattatreya had 24 gurus. That means he looked at every form in the whole universe as his guru, and the whole universe looked to him like a Jagat Guru. Who is a Jagat Guru? He who sees the whole universe as his guru. So in everything, in every action, there is so much to learn that can help us connect with our path and keep our focus on it. Everything should teach us something. Devotee. But doesn't it take a particular attitude of mind to do this? Guruji. Yes, an attitude of mind. That attitude of mind is loving your Sadguru, focusing on your path and not being hypocritical. Reducing the gap between your thoughts, words and deeds. If you have that attitude of sincerity, Baba will take you to higher and higher altitudes on the spiritual path. When we are watching the flow of the Ganga, it is just like our stream of consciousness. From Rishikesh, we followed it up to Devaprayag and then all the way up to Gangotri. But when we got to the so-called source, no one was there. The whole of Gangotri was for us. It was Nissangatvam. Baba has shown it. He has given us that. No one else was there except the Ganga and ourselves, Baba and ourselves. In such a popular, major pilgrimage center, the whole place was deserted and open to us. That was the wonderful thing to see what Baba had done. Is it possible Could anyone think of it? It was such an opportunity. We didn't expect it, and when we went there, it was like that. So when you go to the source, there it will be Nisangatvam. You will be alone at the source, you and Baba. So the whole journey is, in fact, a kind of microcosm of our path. Baba has shown this clearly. Baba didn't neglect even so called unreproved pleasures. I like Wordsworth's expression, unreproved pleasures. Some of you said, we want snow. Nothing wrong in wanting snow. It is a desire many people have. Some of you wanted to see it falling and you saw it in Oli, although it was unseasonable. When we asked if it would snow, people said, no, not now. It will come in 2 or 3 weeks at the end of December. But that night we went to bed and in the morning it was snowing. So even these small desires and wishes, these unreproved pleasures, Baba will fulfill. What hasn't he fulfilled during the whole trip? Whether it is so big like spending time alone in Gangotri or just enjoying playing in the snow and watching the snow fall, everything has been given. Devotee. And Guruji, if we had come just one day later, almost certainly the snow would have made the roads impassable, making it impossible to come. Guruji. Yes, it was exactly the right moment at the right spot when Baba sent us. We didn't plan anything. There was no need for planning. That is what I am trying to say. Nothing had to be planned. Baba is there. He will take care of us. He will show us everything and give us everything. And we were having fun, happily enjoying, playing and dancing. When we came to the source, we were in the lap of Mother Ganga like Dwarkamai. We are her children. We have to play there. We want to be worthy children of Mother Ganga. When we are all in the lap of the Mother, why should we be afraid? If we don't have that concept and awareness, what is the use of going to Gangotri? Just think of our whole trip along these lines and what it reveals to you. It's a totally different dimension. Let us prolong that ecstasy, that happiness, that joy, and the memories of that as long as we can. In every minute, in every moment, I see how Baba's hand is taking us, how much he is showing us, and how much he is giving us. Devotee. But isn't that so always, Guruji, not only on this trip? Guruji. Yes, that's what I am telling you. Try to make your whole life like this. Try. Not that you can, but try. At least you can have an idea of it, an abstract concept, and try to make it concrete in your life. Devotee. Guruji, on this trip we have experienced more about not knowing, not planning, about being in the unknown. We've been traveling, so it's been new all the time. But when we return home, how can we keep alive that experience of newness? Guruji. You don't need so much planning. If you realize it, that is enough. When it is needed, on the spot you can plan and happily go. Don't be bound by your previous planning. If you book a ticket, it is you who decided, this is the day to go, according to the situation then. But later, if something more meaningful can happen by staying back, you can change your plans. But usually, we forget that. Once our decision is made, it becomes imperative for us. Oh, I've booked a ticket. I have to go. What can I do? What can you do? Cancel it or postpone it. It is only your own decision after all. If you have a job and have to be on duty, for instance, then there is reason to hold to it. Otherwise, don't give so much importance to these kinds of small schedule changes. First, let us experience this freedom, this little freedom that is possible now. You are always talking about that freedom, moksha. At least this freedom on this level, let us start with that. We are so conditioned, so bound by our own decisions that when something worthwhile attracts us more strongly, Our previous plans prevent us from following it. Just take care of that. It will pave the way for a greater transformation. When the Buddha got that state, whatever it is, we cannot understand it, the first thing that happened was all planning of the mind stopped. When he decided to sit under the Bodhi tree, he had no thought of getting up. He simply sat with no plan, not even an idea of how long to sit or whether to get up or to sit permanently. That scheduling notion was not there. He simply sat. All planning, all deliberations, all intentions of the mind dropped. Once they dropped completely, he got enlightenment. These subtle bindings and conditionings of the mind are very difficult to overcome. Try it first with ordinary things like travel plans that will show you the art of living spontaneously. It is not so difficult or impractical. Actually, it is quite enjoyable and beautiful. Devotee: Guruji, I think all of us have been really enjoying the journey. Nobody has known where we're going or when or how, and it is a very nice feeling. Guruji: What I want is to give you an idea of your own life in a microcosm. In fact, do you know where you are going? You are simply living. You think you are going somewhere, that you have a goal, an object, a destination. But in fact, it is a myth. You do not know that. I want to give you a taste of this. Just leave aside these concepts of where we are going, why we have come, why we were born, why we are living. When we do not know these profound things, what about this small journey? If at all you want to know about the big journey, try to know about it here also, on the trip. If you take it in this way, it may give you a taste of the reins being in Baba's hands, that he is driving the chariot and knows the destination. He will take us safely. Why should we worry ourselves? He knows. If you relate to it like this, it becomes a practice. I wish you to experience it that way. That's why I don't reveal travel plans. If you don't take it like this, it's simply a new adventure, that's all. Otherwise, what is wrong in announcing the whole schedule? Whether we follow it or not is a different matter. I could give you a schedule, then say it has changed, and then change it again. Each time you'd have the illusion that you knew where you were going, just like you have in your life now, the same illusion. So this trip is a miniature, a small mirror, a reflection of your own life's journey. Our life is the macrocosm and this journey is the microcosm. Devotee: Well, Guruji, I really pray this microcosm never ends. Guruji: Yes, if you understand it, it never ends. It becomes the macrocosm. It doesn't end. Shri Sachidananda Sadguru Sainath Maharaj ki jai. Sadguru Shri Sainath Nisharat Babuji ki jai.